Man, remember Genesis 4? That was a pretty wild tournament. 2 villagers in top 5 for doubles. We had all sorts of talent from all over the world, like Javi from Europe and Locust from my home country Canada. That's all pretty sick. Remember when Zero beat Brood though? Man, what a shutout. Oh wait, a lot of people will attribute Zero's loss to SDing twice, but you know, the saying is that we take those. If Brood had SD'd twice, then everybody would be saying, well, Duck Hunt is a bad character, Brood would have lost anyway, and he just made things a little bit faster. But the fact is, Zero was out round 2, and to a Duck Hunt. So naturally, everyone's hot on Duck Hunt's ass to pick him up. I wrote this script just minutes after Zero's loss, and already the Duck Hunt Discord was full to the brim of Game & Watch mains congratulating us, and dozens of others saying they want to pick up the base doggo. eSam's recanted that Duck Hunt might not be bottom 5, and MVD is already talking about picking him back up. It's madness. He might be, like, kidding, but you know. That's why I wrote this script, and that's why I'm making this video. No doubt Zero and eSam are going to make an opinion piece on how viable Duck Hunt is, but if anyone is going to do a piece on Duck Hunt, I'd rather it be from a guy that's mained the character for close to 2 years. I'm talking about myself. This video is meant for everyone. High-level pro players that thought that they knew everything about Smash 4 and then Duck Hunt happens, and for new players that saw what happened to Genesis and want a piece of that sweet apple pie. I'll be addressing Duck Hunt's strengths and weaknesses, and while I won't be going too into detail about Zero's and MK Leo's matches, I'll be explaining why they happened and how you too can emulate what Brood and Yusan did to achieve their results. First things first, when you choose Duck Hunt on the character select screen, just know that 7 of the 8 Duck Hunt skins are created equal. Don't pick the puke yellow texture, you have 7 other textures to choose from, why would you do that to yourself? The very second thing that a lot of new players would be nervous about is one of Duck Hunt's biggest weaknesses, which is his inability to get the kill. This might not be a terribly unfamiliar issue for people that mean Sheik or whoever, but let's go into this in a little more detail. The truth is that Duck Hunt is actually loaded out the butt with kill power. 4 of his 5 aerials are kill moves, and although I'm hesitant to include down air because while it does spike, it's actually a very weak spike, but for the sake of argument, let's just say that it does. It's a spike, all spikes are spikes, you know. All of his smash attacks are also incredibly powerful. According to Kurogani Hammer, forward smash is, purely by the numbers, stronger than Captain Falcon's, just to give you an idea. Captain Falcon's will still kill earlier because it does more damage, so your world isn't completely topsy-turvy, but just keep it in mind. Duck Hunt's up tilt is also a kill move, killing Mario at 150 with no rage. If we're going to dig deeper, then the can, Duck Hunt's rapid jab, and up throw will all kill at much later percents as well. Here's the catch when it comes to killing with Duck Hunt. All of his kill moves are actually really difficult to land. It's not that they're all unsafe. All of his aerials are actually very safe and up tilt is very quick without much cooldown. It's just that their hitboxes are ridiculously demanding. Neutral air has no disjoint whatsoever, and back air's strongest hitbox is directly on the beak, although the body is still quite strong. Brood landed the winning blow with a sour spot back air, so imagine how much earlier he would have won if he had landed the beak hitbox. But more than that, 4 of Duck Hunt's kill moves are functionally broken. They're not broken as in overpowered, they're broken as in they do not work. His up air and all 3 of his smash attacks are multi-hit moves, and unlike every other multi-hit move in the game, the weaker hits don't reliably connect into the stronger hit. This is why Duck Hunt has such a difficult time killing. He has next to no setups for his kill moves, and the few times he does land a meteor hit like forward smash, it's more often likely that his opponent will slip out before the final blow lands. The Shangri-La of the Duck Hunt meta is if any player can find a way to land one of Duck Hunt's stronger moves reliably. A reliable setup into back air, or maybe a footstool into a smash attack if we can at least guarantee the last hit, or maybe Sakurai will patch them in the Switch version, who knows. I opened this script with Duck Hunt's weaknesses because if you're considering picking up or even maining Duck Hunt, you deserve to know the biggest problems he has first before I get your hopes up. He does have a lot going for him, don't get me wrong, but if you're the type to start looking for kills at 100% or so, you might not appreciate what Duck Hunt's strengths are. And speaking of, probably his biggest strength is in his neutral game. When you hear the phrase strong neutral game, you think of Diddy or Sheik or Cloud, characters that run real fast, have great frame data, tons of disjoint, probably a projectile of some kind. The thing is, Duck Hunt actually has all of those and then some, so let's just make a list, rattle them all off. Jab is frame 4 and rapid jab is inescapable. Check and see for yourself, your opponent will not be able to escape, they can't SDI out of Duck Hunt's jab. The only way they're going to get out is if Duck Hunt lets it go, or if he holds onto it for too long. Although he can't control it until frame 16, and he can't bring up shield until frame 46, but Can is tangible on frame 1, making it the best combo breaker in the game. Also, you might not have known, but the Can does less damage to the dog that threw it. It does 8% to himself and 10% to his opponent. His grab is on frame 8, and frankly it has an unfair hitbox. I mean, look at this, look at this. I bet you didn't know that Duck Hunt is a Jedi. Neutral Air is frame 6 and lasts until frame 37, making it an excellent long-lasting gimping tool. The Gunman has variable range and frame data, but they all appear on the screen on frame 6 and they can tank 5%. They can make an excellent wall to tank things like projectiles or to stall hitboxes so Duck Hunt can escape. I bet you didn't also know, but the Gunman's bullet can pierce obstacles such as Villager's Tree or the statues on Castle Siege. Duck Hunt's forward smash travels farther the longer it's charged. It actually outranges Corrin's, check it out. Down air can be auto-cancelled out of short hop, and both of his hits combined do 15%. At lower to mid percents, a confirm can lead into any aerial for a kill move, although the window is fairly demanding. Side B, which is called the Clay Pigeon, is very long range and is a safe poke at long distances. Try not to use it at close range though, just trust me on this one. Duck Hunt has the best roll, spot dodge, and believe it or not, he has the best air dodge in the game. A lot of people say Mewtwo's is better, but Duck Hunt is intangible for 1 frame longer, although you can act earlier out of Mewtwo, so it's a little debatable. I'd give it to Mewtwo, but still, just keep in mind, Duck Hunt's is really good. But none of that really touches on what makes Duck Hunt Duck Hunt. The neutral B, the Can, a strong contender for the best move in the game. Although Duck Hunt doesn't control it until frame 16, the Can is tangible on frame 1. This means that if Duck Hunt is in the middle of a combo, but it's not true, or if it's off even by just 1 frame, the Can will come out first. Although Duck Hunt will still take damage from the hit if he is hit, and from the explosion, he will only take knockback from the Can. And personally, I can't tell you how many times it saved me from spikes or from killing back airs, but you can watch for yourself how it saves Brood against Zenota. The Can be sent back to the dog just by hitting it, and Duck Hunt has to wait a moment before he presses B to reinstate control over it. But keep in mind, Duck Hunt has to send it out offensively in the first place, and if the Can hits him, Duck Hunt will be taking less damage from it. But even then, there are a couple ways to prevent it from being returned to sender. Namely, if Duck Hunt presses the B button before the attack hits it, the shot from the bouncing Can, which is its own hitbox, and yes, it is also frame 1, the shot will negate the momentum the Can would have taken, or even the attack entirely. The Can is considered a solid object like Villager's Tree, meaning unless a projectile travels over it or it has a piercing property, they will always be stopped by the Can. And this includes Pikachu's Thundershock, Sheik's Needles, and as shown at Genesis, Diddy's Bananas. If Diddy throws a banana at it, not only will it remove the banana and not only will the Can still be there, but if the Can's timer is low enough or if the Duck Hunt is particularly fast, the Can explode back on Diddy. It will also trigger Cloud's Limit Blade Beam, and if the Can's too slow to stop the Blade Beam from hitting Duck Hunt, it'll pop Duck Hunt out of the blast. When it's first pulled out, Duck Hunt can shoot the Can 8 times, and on the 9th it'll detonate. This can be done from anywhere on the stage, regardless of what Duck Hunt is doing, even if he's being attacked, juggled, or grabbed, and even if he's shielding or charging a smash attack, but only if A and B smash is turned off. The only exception to this rule is if Clay Pigeon is also on the field. If so, pressing B will detonate the disc, not the Can. If the Can is struck by an attack, the direction the explosion will send his opponent is determined by which way the attacker was facing. If, for example, Duck Hunt pulls out the Can and then, while facing right, hits it with a forward air, then the explosion will send his opponent to the right, and pressing B will juggle the Can to the right. If, however, Duck Hunt is facing left and hits it with a back air, the explosion will hit them left and the Can will bounce left. This makes it an excellent hook, good enough to make Scorpion proud, and hovering it around the ledge makes for a powerful edge guarding tool. The finality of the fact is that the Can does everything. It goes above and beyond the call for a simple projectile. It can be used offensively and generally does low enough knockback at mid-percents to allow for cool combos. It's easy to control, it doesn't even hurt Duck Hunt that badly when he's hit by it. The Can does poor shield damage, but that actually works in Duck Hunt's favor. Putting down a Can and then sitting on it with your shield is one of the strongest defensive positions in the game, because if they try to attack or grab, Duck Hunt can still control the Can and it'll blow them up without being much of a threat to Duck Hunt himself. And finally, just to wrap this all up, the Can is actually considered multi-hit. One for the Can actually hitting the opponent, and one for the explosion. This is mostly only important for the Rio matchup because you can't focus through it. It's probably the second most talked about issue Duck Hunt has. His recovery is really bad. A lot of commentators like to go on and on when they see Duck Hunt off stage that he's in such an awful position and how terrible his recovery is and just how awful it all is and how bad they feel for Duck Hunt over and over. It's true that Duck Hunt's recovery isn't fast and it has no hitbox. It can't be cancelled like Olimar's, so if Duck Hunt misses the ledge, he's in it for the whole 9 yards. When it comes to viability in Duck Hunt's meta, it's certainly lacking. It's not useful as a movement option, and it's not a kill move, and it has no invulnerability. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not about to try and argue that Duck Hunt actually has the greatest recovery ever. I'm not about to try and say that everyone's wrong and Duck Hunt is the coolest and the most handsome and everyone else is just jealous. I'd just like for credit to be given where it's due. Duck Hunt's recovery, it's not great, but it's not awful. It's far from awful. So let's talk about it a little bit. Let's first look at distance. In terms of sheer distance covered, it's actually really substantial. I've recovered from Fox forward air spikes with Duck Hunt's recovery. That's how good it is. It's really easy to Scrooge stages with it as well. It's comparable to Lucario with no aura around that ballpark, which is hardly the be-all and-all like Villagers is, but more often than not, it'll get you where you need to be. And sure, it has no hitbox, but that's what the can is for. If you watch Brood or Yusan, when they're recovering, they tend to throw out the can first before they recover. If Duck Hunt has enough time to get out the can and still make it back, he can use it to cover his own recovery, which effectively gives it a hitbox. It's incredibly intimidating too. In my 2 years of experience, my opponent will almost never try to contest the can in order to intercept me. Ask them, they'll tell you. If Duck Hunt has no can and is worried about getting intercepted, then because it goes so high and lasts for so long, it's actually viable to recover deep beneath the lip of the stage in an effort to juke out his opponent. And personally, I've never been hit by an untechable attack either, because most back airs don't send Duck Hunt straight up, which gives him just enough of a window to tech. If you're playing as Duck Hunt and you're forced to recover, here's a trick that I like to do personally. When you send out the can, try to land it on the stage within rolling distance of the ledge without actually aiming for your opponent. And like I said before, the can does very little shield damage, so if your opponent just holds shield, then there's not much you can do to help yourself. But if you get the can on stage, you now have a safe place for you to escape to, whether you're rolling into it or you're standing up. Something to think about if you have the chance. I've been talking up Duck Hunt a lot in the script, but make no mistake, this is just to help people understand Duck Hunt a little better. Most everyone puts Duck Hunt in bottom tier, but that's largely because of misinformation or a complete lack of information. They just hear people like Esam say that he's the absolute worst character, and then authority bias kicks in and everyone agrees with him because he's a top player and not because of their own findings or experience. So now it's just a self-proven fact, Duck Hunt is just the worst character in the game, that's it. No argument. I'm not going to argue that Duck Hunt is a high tier character because he's not. He's barely even mid tier, and even that's pushing it. Despite his outstanding neutral game, and despite his recovery not being as bad as everyone immediately assumes, and despite having a one weapon armory in the can, Duck Hunt is still considered a bad character for a really daunting reason. He has a ton of trouble killing. That's why I brought it up first, to make it clear that just because Brood beat Zero and Zenodo, it doesn't immediately mean that everyone's wrong and the Duck Hunt mains have been right this whole time. Look, here are the cold hard facts. Duck Hunt has no kill confirms, he doesn't have setups, he doesn't even have 50-50s. The can hits generally too strong and at too unpredictable an angle to make anything real or confirmed. Disc is unsafe, Gunman is too unpredictable, none of his throws confirm into anything. Sheik has trouble killing too, but at least she has a few 50-50s and Bouncing Fish covers a tremendous distance. Duck Hunt is an absolute monster in the early and mid game, but he has no reliable ways to get the hits that he needs, which are the ones that kill. And even when he does, his 4 best moves might fail on hits because Sakurai thought that was a good idea. You might consider Duck Hunt for doubles then, and that is a fairly viable idea. I regularly team with a Rob who has kill power for days, and we've learned to work around our individual weaknesses to make our team succeed, but Duck Hunt's projectiles, which make up the entirety of his neutral game, are difficult to master in such a hectic environment and require more practice than many of you might be willing to put in so early off the Duck Hunt hype. If you're looking to pick up Duck Hunt after his breakout performance at Genesis 4, you deserve to know everything going into him. I know I'm well enough to get sick 40 to 50% strings, and they look stylish and I feel like a total boss when I pull them off, but I have to work 3 times harder for all my kills when Cloud just presses down B, or Corn just presses side B, or Diddy just lands a down tilt. I love Duck Hunt, and I hate that I love him.